But I just
Is there a
love
price
it.
point that would get you back in the octagon?
A price point? Like what I couldn't say no to.
Dana calls up and he's like, Ronda, it's crazy. We got this crazy night. It's going to be, we got the sheiks in Saudi Arabia have put together a dream fight they want to see, and you're in it. What's your number? And for you to train, go back in.
I mean, I have everything I want. Like there's nothing that would really change my lifestyle. If you said $1 billion, I would do it because there's a B
so
on it.
let's do price points on this.
Okay, $1 billion.
No. Let's start lower. Let's start.
No,
so 10 million. $10 billion.
Okay. That's if I didn't want to do it.
You're just fighting Bert Kreischer. By the way, he took $10,000.
All right. I will beat the shit out of you in your backyard for this house. Let's go.
How long do I get to train?
It's right now. Now or never.
Do you know, I was just talking to Joe on the walk over, and all it takes is a text going, how long for me to train to beat Ronda? That'll never happen.
He wouldn't know. He's not an expert. He's a fan with an audience.
It's interesting. Is that how you feel about you?
Never fought.
He fought Taekwondo, right?
Never fought. That's not fighting. It's not fighting.
Well, I'm going to exit this conversation. No,
I don't want you to get any bad DMs. We need to get out. We need to get out.
Joe, by the way.
So recently, Bert Kreischer had Ronda Rousey on his podcast, and as you've probably seen, they ended up in a very uncomfortable situation, especially for Bert, when Ronda called out Joe Rogan for basically being a fan with an audience rather than an expert in MMA. Now, out of all people who might have been offended by that, Rogan would have been the first to come to mind, but as it turns out, I don't even think Rogan has seen the video where Ronda calls him out. Someone who did see it though and got very offended by Bert Kreischer's behavior was Brendan Schaub, who called out Bert for not standing up for Rogan.
Bert is a two-stripe white belt in fighting. So Ronda comes on there, and some of the stuff she said, if she just went on even just a normal MMA podcast, there would have been some pushback for some things she said. But Bert, he doesn't really know some of the references, like when she was like Khabib this, and there's no other champions, who are beloved. And it's like, whoa. Just anyone has just a general overview of the sport can rebuttal a little bit there, but it doesn't do Ronda, doesn't do Bert any justice when one's an expert, one's just a general fan.
That has to be one of the dumbest takes I've seen from Brendan in a long time, especially when he's talking about Joe Rogan. The same criticism Schaub throws at Bert applies directly to Rogan. After all, Rogan constantly has scientists, politicians, and experts from all kinds of fields on his podcast. And if it isn't already obvious, he's not an expert in any of those areas either. So this whole idea from Brendan Schaub that you need to be an expert in someone's field just to have a conversation with them is genuinely ridiculous, especially when he's using that logic to defend Joe Rogan.
Because all she's doing is talking at him and there's no rebuttal. You know what I'm saying? Like if she would have went, I think the best thing she could have done is, obviously you guys are going to say I'm biased, but the best thing she could have done is go on Rogan's podcast. Now, obviously there's some ill will towards Rogan, which we can get into, but Rogan will see it from both sides. Like, yeah, maybe I was a little critical, and when she says that stuff about the champions, Rogan has the knowledge where he can kind of push back a little bit, and then maybe they have a general conversation and they come to an equal understanding that informs the casuals and the hardcores, but it answers a lot of questions. You don't get much from this when it's just her speaking at Bert, who's a casual fan. He's going, yeah, I think that makes sense. It's one of the problems we have in mixed martial arts is, this is no different than not Netanyahu going with the Nelk Boys. Big platform, Nelk Boys are great. Not going to get much pushback. I don't know if those guys are up to date on the political climate when it comes to that stuff. So again, it gets views, but Netanyahu can get views wherever he goes. Ronda's going to get views wherever she goes. She could have went on anybody's pod in this, because she doesn't do it a lot.
Now, I have to acknowledge this because it's a very rare occurrence. Brendan Schaub actually said something funny. Comparing Bert Kreischer to Benjamin Netanyahu might be one of the funniest jokes he's ever made. It's such a good joke that I honestly think Joe Rogan could use it in his next comedy special. Now, as for what Brendan Schaub said about the Ronda Rousey and Bert Kreischer podcast, I mean, if you're a hardcore MMA fan, are you really going to listen to Bert Kreischer's podcast for your latest and most in-depth conversation about MMA? Probably not. Even with Ronda as a guest, I don't think anyone expects Bert Kreischer, who's a comedian, to have the most accurate takes when it comes to MMA. So I think Brendan is totally overreacting here.
For me, I think it would have been better for Ronda if she would have went to somebody. I'm not saying me in the least bit. I take myself out of this. Luke Thomas, Pete Carroll, Chuck Mendenhall, Ariel. There's so many people out there that she could go on their pod and it just have a knowledge, just to be like, I hear you, but what about this? Do you wish you would have done this different? There's someone just with a knowledge where you can kind of lead her down this road and just ask questions and get her thoughts on it. Because the thing about Ronda's wicked smart, man. Wicked smart. She's a super smart person. So there's a lot of built up resentment in there. And she's not this type. It comes off as so mean and arrogant, and that's not her. And I think if there's again, this isn't on Bert, this isn't his job. So I'm with Bert. Hell yeah, come on. What do you want to talk about? So this isn't anything against Bert. You guys know I love the fuck out of Bert. But I think that's one of the problems.
So if you're with Bert, why are we even having this conversation? It seems like what Brendan is trying to do here is score some points with Rogan, maybe hoping he'll let him perform at the comedy mothership for being a loyal soldier to his emperor, Joe Rogan.
Here's the other thing I don't get. Here's the other thing I do not get. Bert and Joe are close. Other podcasters have, especially in the comedy world, have other comics on, and those hosts are close with Rogan. When you bring somebody on and they throw a jab at your boy, I don't understand how you just let it ride or have fun with it. Oh, what? How are you not defending your boy after all he's done for you? Even if say it wasn't Joe Rogan, say it was a lower level guy. If he's one of your boys, I don't understand how you don't defend them or stick up for them. It's such cuck behavior. I don't understand. I'm not saying he needs to get in a fist fight with Ronda. I'm not saying these other comedy podcasters have to die on the hill and defend their boy. But what you're not going to do is come on my platform and throw jabs at one of my friends. I don't understand that. I don't understand it. I don't get it.
I swear the Rogan Sphere comedians are some of the cringiest people on earth, especially when their Lord and Savior, Joe Rogan, gets criticized. They turn into literal bootlickers and act as if Rogan is above any criticism whatsoever. It's like they can criticize everyone and everything, but the moment someone dares to criticize Rogan, suddenly that's where the line gets drawn, and that's when you've gone too far. Also, for the sake of the argument, what exactly is Bert Kreischer supposed to do in that situation? Get into a debate about MMA with Ronda Rousey, a former UFC champion, when he's a comedian who, if we're being honest, isn't even particularly good at the one thing he's supposed to be an expert at, which is comedy. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the Fighter and the Kid podcast, because Brendan kept rambling about this and made it seem like it was the end of the world that Ronda Rousey called Joe Rogan a fan with an audience.
That's interesting. Is that how you feel about you?
Never fought.
Defend him,
He
Bert.
fought Taekwondo, right?
Didn't know how to defend him.
Never fought. That's not fighting. It's not fighting.
Well, I'm going to exit this conversation. No,
I don't want you to get any bad DMs. We need to get out.
I think
more to if you want to see this
everybody's
one.
making a bigger deal about it. I mean,
It's a pretty big deal, B.
what do you mean?
When you say Joe Rogan's not a fighter.
He's
Here's my thing. Rogan's not walking the streets of Austin.
never said he was.
Claiming to be some bad.
he wouldn't disagree. He's not gonna. Joe wouldn't say.
No.
What do you mean? He's.
No, again, my only criticism of that whole take is saying he's not an expert.
But wait, Joe
that.
has said. I have heard Joe say. He says when he talks about MMA fighters, I've heard him say. I'm going to quote him. He goes, well, MMA fighters have to train to a point where they're about to break. You have to balance that. He goes, for us mere mortals, and he's talking about himself, don't understand that. Joe has never been anything but he's always said, I'm a fan. I happen to think he's an expert. I will say this about him, and I've said this probably more than 15 years ago. In terms of a commentator for fighting, he will go down as
The greatest ever.
Because he did fight enough to know the difference. Black belt in jiu-jitsu, boxed, kickboxed, taekwondo. Like, have you seen
He has
him move?
experience in the different realms.
And he loves the game. He's really,
He's seen more fights than any living or dead person.
He's probably
ever.
seen more fights than anyone on the planet.
And he's obsessed with it and has a passion for it. While this is ended, if I would ask her, if he's not an expert, who is an expert that didn't fight?
Well,
if she goes in order to be an expert in my world,
but that's an opinion. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. If she goes in order to be an expert in my world, you have to fight. I go, okay,
that's fine.
Then there's no argument.
Yeah.
Then okay,
that is what
that's
she's
fine.
saying.
I mean, Brendan is all over the place. Suddenly, if Ronda says that in her eyes you need to be a legit fighter to be considered an expert, he's totally fine with. So then why are we even having this conversation? It's like Brendan's brain operates on some miraculous setting where he completely forgets what he said just the day before.
Ronda
Her whole life
Rousey?
has been sports on the highest level. She's a bronze medalist in the Olympics. Okay, in judo, that's very difficult, very fucking difficult. It's so difficult. I don't think people even understand. And then she went on to be, like, she went on to break the ceiling. Earth shatterer, trailblazer.
Yeah. One of the greatest.
So I would never get in any kind of, I would never have any, I'm never going to, I would do what Bert would do. Bert was like, oh, where do I go from here? Yeah.
That's what I was telling Brendan too on Schaub Show. I was like, I don't know what to say. I'm just gonna laugh, because it's
I'm going
uncomfortable.
to have myself a magic.
I would. I mean, obviously, I'm different than you and Bert. I would defend Rogan being an expert.
Yeah, you're a fighter.
Now, that's actually a valid point from Brian, because what are you supposed to do in that situation? It's not like Bert's podcast is some scripted show where everyone knows the talking points ahead of time. It's completely the opposite, just a free-flowing conversation. So when Ronda dropped that comment, of course Bert was going to be caught off guard. You can't really blame him for being a little bit stunned or unsure of what to say, especially when we're talking about a topic he's clearly not an expert in. And then, of course, Brendan couldn't resist stroking his own ego at the end, saying he's different from Brian and Bert, and that he would have defended Rogan against Ronda, which is like, okay, cool, but who cares? Nobody asked you what you would have done in the first place. But like I said, I think this is just Brendan's way of trying to score some points with Rogan and solidify his position as a loyal soldier to Joe Rogan. With that being said, that's it from me. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.